as Chuck did, and as Richard Matheson did, and John Cumberland, and Jerry Soule, Theodore Sturgeon, and dozens of highly, highly talented people that I knew. They all knew that Ray Bradbury was one of the truly important men of the 20th century. That in future generations, they will look back at what he contributed to literature, including winning the Nobel Prize, and they will realize that there was really an extraordinary person, an extraordinary talent. But why didn't he succeed? Because he wasn't essentially a playwright. And in order to be good at television or at any of this internet stuff, it really pays you to learn dialogue, learn how to show rather than tell. Most writers fall down because they tell and they do not show. A teleplay has to show it. A good short story shows it. You see what they say. You don't have a beautiful lyrical voice telling you, well, she came in the door and he knew she was angry. He says, don't go jumping salty at me. And she says, look here, where the hell have you been? And he says, been here. You don't go me asking me questions like that unless, and they get into some bloody argument, and it's all being talked about. And she was angry, and she went slamming out the door. And he knew that she would have to, and it goes on, and it's telling you the story. And that's a wonderful art form. But it's not television. Television shows you the story. And really good short story writers borrow from that art, and they turn it into dialogue and into descriptions of actions. It's not too surprising that, or I should say it's really quite surprising, that scripts are not more widely read. Bosley Crowther wrote an introduction to Rod Serling's Requiem for a Heavyweight book, and he described what Rod was doing as I'll think of the phrase, a little phrase that helps to describe what is going on in a play, so that if you learn how to read it, then you'll learn how to read it, and once you do, nothing will stop you from going to read a whole bunch of other plays because of this something. God, I had the phrase on the tip of my tongue, and it'll come to me just the minute I walk out the door. Anyway, Bosley Crowther was very aware of the fact of the difference between telling and showing, and that this form of fiction, which he called something fiction, I'll get it, was an art form that had been sadly overlooked, and that if anyone were to take the script for Requiem for a Heavyweight as it was being presented with a few deletions of technical terms and jargon from the stage, from the TV, was basically photogenic fiction. That's what he called it. Photogenic fiction. And Rod Serling wrote photogenic fiction. And that if you could read this as it deserved to be read, like you would read a novel, you would find it works just as well. And you would find that you had developed a taste for photogenic fiction, and then you would end up reading a lot of teleplays. I know this much, I myself am thrilled at the fact that every one of those teleplays is now in print. Charles Beaumont's got his books out. Rod Serling collected scripts. George Clayton Johnson, scripts and stories. Earl Hamner Jr., everybody has published their Twilight Zone scripts. They became great demand to the point where now not only are they all on DVDs, but all of the scripts are available. And most of the scripts translate into one-act plays, and with those one-act plays, they can be done in small neighborhood theaters or on stages in auditoriums, in schoolhouses, and there's a wealth of education to be found in those plays now that they have been printed. Because that same incentive does not lie with Mr. French and his short plays, although they're wonderful, not the same way that these Twilight Zone stories work with the public. And I thank you very much for listening to this diatribe.